Hello, welcome to another episode, everyone. We are talking about Arctic Monkeys, The Car album. Very controversial. We got a little bit to say about it here, but we cannot do it without Dixon. How are you?
Ice, we are back. Continuing this infamous, I think what's creating quite the buzz on YouTube here is our Arctic Monkeys series here, and it's been a fun one so far.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of views. We're getting a lot of likes, too, and I'm pretty excited about that. You know, but Arctic Monkeys, I feel like the fans are a little shy about commenting. I wish they would comment. So here's another call to action. We did this in the last one. Guys,
yes,
leave us a because I honestly really want to know. I'd rather you leave a comment even than subscribe, but you should do that too. But I want to know what you guys think about our opinions on this, because as we said from the start, this is our fourth video on the Arctic Monkeys now, going through their albums. But I want to know what the diehard fans think about our opinions and what we think about some of these albums, because we're hitting some big ones. We did the first one, we did AM, and now we're doing The Car. So I want to know what people think about this.
No, yeah, for sure. Because we've, like I said, we want to hear the comments, because we've kind of covered, I would say, a pretty diverse map of the Arctic Monkeys, and we're kind of just plugging along here, kind of picking out their catalog. And as you said, this episode may be a little controversial. We may have some things to say about it, so we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, I think this one's going to be pretty interesting. So, of course, we're talking about The Car, and what I found out after listening to this album is that this one is a controversial album for the fans. And this is their latest album. It came out in, 2023, and I'm sorry, it was released October 21st, 2022, recorded in 2021. So this is their latest album. It's been 3 years now since it's been out, and there haven't been any new albums since then. But this is a change. And again, I know we talked about this. They hit different moods and tones in each album, and this one is absolutely no different. It has its own tone. It's very loungy, I would say, a little jazzy. It's interesting. It is, and again, it's totally different. And there's something to be said about that. I think it's impressive that they could just do new sounds every single album.
I think that's really, you're absolutely right. So yeah, so this was surprising to me because, like I said, like that loungy kind of, like, I don't know what. And I was surprised. I didn't realize it. I had heard the song Body Paint somewhere like a while ago.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I heard that song, and not knowing it was the Arctic Monkeys. And then I heard it again as I was listening to the album, and I said, "Oh my gosh, this is the Arctic Monkeys!" Because Alex Turner at points sounds like an American woman at some points singing this song, right?
Yes, yeah, he does.
It's completely. Now you have some of the Sheffield accent and pronunciations, but very limited compared to their previous releases. As once again, this underlines the first time we talked about the Arctic Monkeys was Alex Turner's evolution. And so I don't want to spoil anything, but I feel like you said maybe some of these songs weren't your cup of tea, and I have a theory as to why, but go ahead and explain why you were what you were going to say.
Yes, explain your really shitty opinion on this. No, but I admitted to you, BTS.
Yes.
Actually, another BTS. Discord was down yesterday, so we weren't able to record. It was a big flop on Discord. We're glad they got back up for us, though.
Yep. Thank you, Discord.
Yeah, thank you, Discord. We were in talks with them, but anyway, BTS. I said I liked it. I liked the mood of it. It was interesting. It was different. But this is probably one of my least favorite albums out of the ones that we have listened to.
Yeah.
And again, we've listened to 3 of them now, but out of all of them, this is probably my least favorite. And I have some reservations about it, and it's because I think one of the big things for me is that I like the sound. It's not even that, but I feel like some of these songs don't really go anywhere. It really is kind of, some of them are just that it's a lounge song. It's like something you would listen to in the background. And that's not every song on here for me, but it's something that you would hear in a piano lounge or whatever, and there's no build up and crescendo. There's not a lot of catchy choruses or verses in here for me, like there were on the first album in AM, but that's where this one falls short for me.
Hmm.
I only had
No,
maybe
yeah,
one or
I get it.
two favorite songs off here. Let's hear your theory. Why do you think that I don't like this?
Well, it's funny that you say that because I completely agree with you because
Mhm.
I think this album would have been better like as an EP, like four tracks or five tracks, right?
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
think when you get to a certain point, like if you actually like cut the album in half, like the first five tracks and the last five tracks kind of just are like the same thing, and you kind of like lose focus. Like I lost interest in what I was listening to at
yeah.
a
No, me
point,
too.
right?
Yeah.
Right. And you have that lounge feel. And you said there's no crescendo. It's just kind of these abrupt stops. The song ends and then they move on, right?
Mhm.
Once again, Alex Turner showing his creativity. He's, again, the primary songwriter on all of these.
Mhm.
Um, my theory was, as I was listening to this and through the whole album, not just the second half or whatever, the B side or however you want to break it up in today's digital streaming language,
Right.
this sounded to me like mid 60s to early 70s Beach Boys.
Wow. Oh no. So that's why I don't like it. Okay.
That's my theory is that you
Okay.
have this internalized hatred for the greatest
Oh my
American band
God.
of all time.
No.
And you transition that hatred to this. No, so it's funny because I'm thinking like, boy, this sounds like some of the sweets on Smile. This sounds like
Mhm.
some of the background tracks on Pet Sounds. This sounds like Surfs Up. And I Googled it and I said, did the Beach Boys have anything to do with this album, or was there any kind of deal here? So of course Reddit
Right.
comes up and they said, "Oh yeah, there's definitely a Beach Boys influence."
Mhm.
And this one article says the album "The Car" by Arctic Monkeys features sounds and themes that evoke a nostalgic, slightly melancholic vibe, reminiscent of some aspects of the Beach Boys' music, particularly their more introspective and experimental later works. However, they are distinct in their approach to sound and storytelling. So and this has been a thing, and I don't want to sound like, oh yeah, I thought of this too, but it reminded me of the later, like the Beach Boys stuff when Brian Wilson was more so in the studio as opposed to being in the front. And they were changing the idea from cars and surfing and everything else to a more introspective sound.
Mhm.
Maybe much like the Arctic Monkeys have evolved over their short but packed career, especially in particular Alex Turner.
Yes. Yes. And I don't think it's necessarily bad. What I especially liked about it is I can't remember the Beach Boys Smile album, but did they have like orchestral influences? Because there's some of that in here too. There's a little bit of like orchestral kind of
Yes,
soundscapes and
sounds
violins and
Smile
stuff.
definitely, yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Yep.
right. And I really appreciated that. Like the very first song, "There Better Be Maribel." That's probably my favorite one off of here. And I
That is a
like
good
the
song.
I like the piano in there. It was like really jazzy, and I was getting pumped up. I'm like, oh, this is going to be fantastic. It kind of reminded me of like, my lo-fi enjoyment, hearing that little stabs at the piano, little chords playing. And again, it's another simple chord progression, especially with the piano, but something about the Arctic Monkeys that make that work so well. I think it's just the combination of all of them coming together, and then Alex Turner's vocals. But as it went on, I was like, okay, like I kind of want to get back to that kind of vibe, but
Yeah.
I feel like it just never got back to that. And like you said, by the end of the album, you split it up to, if you want to call it the B side, like you said, I was
Right.
kind of phasing in and out, and I wasn't really hooked like I was on the other albums that we listened to.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think, and we said this for the last two albums too, is that I think that the context of this album, I think it works well, and I think it sounds good, but to a certain point, it just becomes like white noise, basically. I think, and I think
Mhm.
that maybe that was more prominent here than in the other two albums we listened to. It just kind of like, I just don't know. It was just like, I get it, or I get it. It's enough, you know. And
Yeah.
even if they had, and I think if I know, and I don't know, but if I have an idea of like how Alex Turner is trying to operate, because there is this nostalgic influence, he was trying to create sort of like a consistent soundscape from one side to the other, and they all kind of merge together. But it almost like it needs a break in between there or something else.
So something interesting about that, like that evolution, is apparently, and maybe we're faulting ourselves here because we're kind of skipping around going to different albums,
Right.
but apparently their album previous to this, Tranquility
Mhm.
Base Hotel and Casino, sounds like this, but it was less accessible apparently than this
Wow.
album. So, and the funny thing is, in researching this, apparently Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino, is considered by some to be the worst album that the Arctic Monkeys have ever released. And then they like the car because I don't know if it's more accessible, or I don't know really what's going on there, because I'd like to listen to that too. But apparently those two albums sound the same. And that makes me curious, because as we've been skipping around, we see the evolution. It'd be interesting to hear two albums in a row that sound similar with this lounge kind of orchestral style.
Yeah, I did read that it was kind of a building block like that. The 2018 release was kind of a building block for this. And it's interesting to see where they're going and where they headed. Like, where is the next release going to come from? Are they where do they want to work? And I guess that kind of is a positive in the sense that he can work in, I guess, in reality, multiple genres,
right?
But and they all sound different. But it's there's got to be some sort of consistency, and maybe they're just trying to see where their consistency is headed.
Yeah, I'd be very curious to see where they go with this next, because I mean they have to know the reception of it. But I mean, here's another thing, Dixon. Yeah. This was received pretty well by critics, and it actually hit U.S. Top Alternative Album #1 on Billboard, U.S. Top Rock Album #1 on Billboard, U.S. Billboard 200 it hit #6. I mean, they were pretty high up with the release of this album. So I'm wondering if they see this and they're like, okay, we got to keep doing this. Maybe their next album will be similar to this. I don't know, but critically it was received pretty well. But I feel like with the fans, it's a pretty divisive album. So
you were saying there was some divisiveness happening there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You go on Reddit, our favorite website, with people that are very self-important and think they know better than everyone. But
yes, for sure.
You see people talking about that they dislike this album, but they say Tranquility Base is the worst one, even though it sounds similar. And people say this is boring and stuff, and I agree with them on that. And here's another thought that I had too, is that people saying that this is boring, and I agree, because I listened to AM and I enjoyed that whole album, and that's when I said, okay, I could see how this is being played on the radio and why people want it in their commercials or whatever. I mean, it's probably a little more mainstream, but with this, it's definitely, it just takes a backseat for me. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I could see that too. I could definitely see that. It's I don't know. I feel like I'm being one of the Reddit guys, and I feel like, Alex was interpreting this, or they wanted it to be like this. You
might be right. I don't know.
Yeah. I have a hard time doing that because, like I said, it just at some point it's just white noise. It almost seems like it's like filler. Like, we got to put something together, but they don't seem like that kind of band, which is so confusing, Yeah. And I looked on Reddit just now as you were saying, and I said the question is when do you guys realistically see another album happening?
Okay.
And as of right now, the car only just hit a full year of being released, and the band is at the end of what has felt like a long tour. They'll obviously need time to rest and write again, but I know Alex has said he hopes the next album is sooner than some of the other albums were. What are your theories on when we'll get a new album based on everything we know? This guy replied back, earliest would be 2025. Just might happen too. They talked about a shorter gap this time. If it weren't for COVID, we'd have had a shorter gap last time. And this other person says, I'd guess ... 2026. But it doesn't really matter what we guess. It's not going to influence anything.
See, I think this sets me up to be excited for their next album. It really does, because if the last two albums, Tranquility Base and this album, The Car, are similar, you'd have to imagine that it's going to be something different. I feel like tonally, or the theme of the album is going to shift.
Yeah.
Based on what we listen to. So I'm definitely excited to hear the next one. But I hate to say it. I don't know how much more I have to say about this album other than, I mean, it just, I wanted more out of it. I really did.
Yeah.
I love There Better Be a Mirrorball, and I wanted more of that. And I feel like I don't know. I didn't get it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And I get that too. And that's, it's hard to justify something that when you're listening to it, you're like, I don't like this. Well, how do you justify oh, we meant
Yeah.
this. Well, so what? It still could suck. You know?
Right.
Right.
Right, yeah.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
that's tough. That's tough. It is. It's tough. And I totally get what you're saying. And it is. It's not one of my favorites, but I could listen to it again because
Okay.
there's that, as we know, that influence of the band that you hate and despise.
Yeah.
It ain't no DMB every day. We know that.
Oh,
We know
okay.
that.
All right.
It ain't no every day. We know
Yeah,
that.
you had to throw that jab in there. Okay.
You like? I know I've asked you before. Do you like the album Every Day?
I actually do.
I think it's a good album. Yeah.
I think there's some good stuff off there. I don't understand why people are so hard on it. I mean, and just like we're talking about this one now, that's a pretty divisive album because people said it was too mainstream. But I think there's some good songs off there. I like The Space Between. That's a great one.
That's on Out Every Day?
Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. That's a pretty good song.
Yeah. I mean, I even like Every Day. I mean,
I like that song too. It's very catchy. It has that guy with the hat on in the video. I remember that.
yeah, there's some good stuff in there.
Yeah, I remember listening to that album. It was good.
So Right, Dreams of Our Fathers, a little preachy, but still a good song. The Space Between, Space Between, another great song. I like the album. Is it my favorite? No, but
No, but
it's
you like it.
definitely up there. But I do enjoy it.
So should we give a rating on this album? Then I have some major breaking news.
Okay, yeah. Let's give a rating. I feel like I'm gonna be overly harsh on this one, but
Yeah, that's okay. That's fair though. I mean,
Okay.
you've given reasons why, and they're all valid. And I get what you're saying totally.
okay.
Yeah.
You've been giving your rating first. I feel like that's unfair. I'll give my rating first, so I don't put you on the spot here, because I
Okay,
feel like
sounds
I'm the one with the dissenting opinion here, and that's
Okay.
fine. We have our own opinions. That's okay if you disagree with me,
Correct.
or if I disagree with the fans that are listening. But I'm gonna have to say, this is like a 6.2 for me,
Okay, that's fair. I think that's very fair.
and it would be better. Now I heard some reviews after I listened to this album. Anthony Fantano, he's trying out there.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
not as
Anthony
successful
Fantano.
as us. I'm not really a fan of him, but anyway, he
Yeah.
he said that this album was bad because he actually grilled Alex Turner. Said his vocals were not anywhere near able to pull this kind of album off. Now, do you agree with that?
Interesting. I don't know if I agree with that. I think his vocals work well.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I thought it was what they were going for. Not everyone has to be like a friggin' opera singer, absolutely amazing. I mean, your boys, The National, show that. I mean, we know that.
We know all about this.
We know all that. We know you could be a hack singer. And no, I'm just kidding. But it's just the fact that I thought the vocals were fine. I would love to have this album, but with a little more. I wanted to get somewhere. Not necessarily upbeat or anything, but I wanted that catchy stuff that I love from their older albums to happen here. I feel like some of the songs just kind of ended. I feel like some of them didn't go anywhere, and then at the end it kind of melded together. I think they obviously have talent. They could make good music. I feel like if they retune this, I feel like this could easily be one of my favorite albums because I love. I love the orchestral influences. I love the kind of jazzy stuff. I love the piano in there. That's all fantastic. If they just kind of tuned it a little more and made it more fun to listen to, honestly, I would be all for it 100%. So yeah, I'm just going to have to stick with that for now.
I'm with you, and that's fair. That's a fair assessment. So I guess some context to think about for me.
Mm-hmm.
So the car, it's a picture of a Camry on a rooftop. So I mean, I drive a Camry, so I'm partial to that.
Oh yeah, okay. So you're biased already.
Short album, 37 minutes, which is their usual.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised at how many Grammy Awards this was nominated for.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing.
Yeah, it was interesting. And here's a little fun fact: one of our favorites. This actually didn't debut in the top spot on the UK album charts because Midnights occupied the spot for like weeks in the UK. And so unfortunately Taylor Swift had the UK kind of thing there happening too. I look at and I told Brian, I look at the influence. I look at at where they've come from, where they're going. I don't think Alex Turner's vocals are bad at all.
No.
I think in reality, this is probably, given the context, given where we are and what we're doing with the Arctic Monkeys, I think this was a valiant effort at what they're trying to do, whatever that is.
Right,
and I can
right.
see their sense. You could sense they're trying to do something.
Mm-hmm.
I think like a 7.
Okay. No, I think it's totally fair. You know, maybe I was even a little too harsh, but it's just, I should back you up on that point. I really appreciate what they're trying to do here. Like it takes a lot of artistic skill to kind of go in this direction. But you know, that's totally different. But I think that's definitely a very fair rating.
Yeah, I think yours is fair too, and I think this is definitely the lowest rating we've given to any Arctic Monkeys record that we've listened to so far. So
yeah,
so that says something. I think it does say something because we've listened to their music. We listened to enough music, I think.
Well, yeah, I would say so.
Well, that's good.
But so Dixon, you said you had some breaking news.
Yeah, yeah. So
let's hear this.
This is just an update. We usually give these updates every once in a while. Bob Dylan, friend of the show, is on tour. He's been on tour since the late winter. He's touring around on this Outlaw Music Festival with Willie Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at some of the shows, and they're accessible to where I am. And I was checking out some of the set lists. So any set list that Bob Dylan's ever played is on his website from the beginning of time. When he first started for his first concert, every set list on every show he ever played for the last 60 years is on his website. And for a while, this was curated by this guy Sean Wylance. I don't know if he's still alive, but I was looking at the set list for his tour, and he is playing probably the worst songs in his catalog consistently.
That is so funny.
Yes. So he's playing. So he always played. No. So let's just use some logic here for a minute, right?
Yeah.
Like Rolling Stone, seminal track, the song of the '60s, sums up so much so that the biopic about his life is. No, actually, complete. This lyric is a complete unknown. So that's from Like a Rolling Stone, right?
Right.
The movie about Bob Dylan's life that came out with Timothée Chalamet. He always played Like a Rolling Stone. That was either an encore or he played it or something, right? He's not playing Like a Rolling Stone. On his last several dates, he hasn't played Like a Rolling Stone. So logic would tell you, and I think I understand how Bob Dylan works now, is that, you're going to have maybe 20%, maybe 10% to 25%, I'd say, of the crowd going to see Bob Dylan for their first time. This tour, because of the movie, because maybe they wanted to. I mean, Bob Dylan's getting older. You got to see him now. We're running out of time. You know what I mean?
That's a good point.
You anticipate that he's going to play Like a Rolling Stone, and then he doesn't, and that's Bob Dylan being Bob Dylan. It's like and when Bob Dylan, when they were making this movie with Timothée Chalamet, Bob Dylan tweeted, he's like, "I can't wait to see the movie. Timmy's going to do a great job, and I'm really excited about it." So he's never spoken to Timothée Chalamet, but I think Timothée Chalamet has kind of put it upon himself to kind of be like, I don't know, like a Dylan tribute artist, a Dylan something. Tribute artist isn't the word. I want to say tribute artist, but like a I don't know, a tribute. I don't know.
I know you're like an ambassador for Bob Dylan, like supporting him and saying like you guys should go see, like kind of like that, I guess.
Correct. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like he was on Saturday Night Live and he played Bob Dylan songs as the musical artist. Like there's this, I think that Timothée Chalamet is occupying this role, and I don't know how long he's going to do that for, but he's sort of like this Bob Dylan sort of vessel, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that Bob Dylan is kind of knowing that thing that he's like, oh, well, Timmy's got everything else covered. I'm just going to play these songs. It's not like Timothée Chalamet is going out and touring. He's not.
Right.
But he has this kind of stand-in role he's been committed to for the last several months of kind of like being a Bob Dylan-esque figure, and he's kind of mysterious and all these kind of things. Mm-hmm. So Bob Dylan is playing. So he's opening with "I'll Be Your Baby Tonight," right? Great song,
Mm-hmm.
Good song. He then goes into "It Ain't Me, Babe," which is a throwback. That's from the 60s. The Turtles covered it. That became one of their hits. Him and Joan Baez covered it. I mean, okay, so it starts out really good. And then it gets into this stuff that's like, I don't even know where the hell he's going, right? So then there's a high point. He gets into Desolation Row. So Desolation Row is 11 minutes long, and that's mid 60s Dylan. Early to mid 60s Dylan. That's a good song.
Huh.
And I remember when he first played it live, I'm like, holy shit, because he hadn't played it live in a long time. This is probably 2011. And then he goes into Key West, Philosopher Pirate, which is from his album Rough and Rowdy Ways, which I think is 18 minutes long. I don't think I've even listened to it, to be honest with you. I'm a bad Bob Dylan fan. Yes. And then he goes, It's All Over Now, Baby Blue. And that's basically the essential songs that anybody who has a casual understanding of Bob Dylan is going to know, right? And I don't even know some of these songs after listening to Bob Dylan for
that says something.
Yeah, for most of my adult life. So then it's funny because the one show so traditionally his encores were he would do All on the Watchtower as an encore, and then he would go into Like a Rolling Stone. At one show he was opening with All Along the Watchtower, right? So you start with this rock track, and you're up here,
Oh yeah, you're fired up.
You're as close to being your L as you can right there. And then he goes into the same BS he was just playing now, these songs that nobody even knows. He doesn't even know what he's saying, and it's like, this is classic Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan arguably right now has probably one of a complete revival of his career. I don't think he wants that. I don't think he's interested in that. But you can say that there's some sort of marketing component now to Bob Dylan that you can maybe not exploit, but take advantage of, right?
Right.
Obviously has no interest in doing it. And I guarantee you that if people are going to, this is their first time to see Bob Dylan, and he comes around again shortly thereafter, they're like, oh, I went to see him and he sucked. And I know that's what's going to happen, because I had a friend an hour away from me, and it was Bob Dylan was playing close to me.
Uh-huh.
And then Bob Dylan was playing close to him. And so it was a Monday and a Wednesday, or a Monday and a Thursday, an hour or 2 hours away. I remember going to whatever, I was the first show, and it was good. It was a good set list. It was decent. It was complete. The band was tuned up. Everything was good. My friend went to see him on Wednesday or Thursday, had the show, whatever. So I posted something about the Bob Dylan concert that week, and my friend texted me or whatever, commented, I think this is Facebook era, and he's like, oh wow, what a terrible show, right? I'm like, no, it was actually really good. And I looked at it. It was the worst set list of all time again, 3 days later in a different location. So you have no idea what you're going to get or what you're going to do. So I guess this is classic Dylan.
I don't know. That's incredible. I mean, that has to be purposeful, right? I mean, has to be. Right. Oh man, that's just funny. Yeah, because like you said, a lot of people are just going to be seeing him for the first time, and they're going to be like, "Oh, what is this? Why is he like?" Yeah, you know what I mean. And especially if there's songs that you've never even heard, that's saying something.
Yeah, he's pulling out every grain of sand. I mean, these are deep cuts. It's When I Paint My Masterpiece. That song sucks, and I just don't. It's one of those things. It goes back to your theory. The whole theory, the overriding theory of this whole thing, and you came up with it, was Bob Dylan is the ultimate troll, and that is his whole goal, is to just troll people all the time. And he's in his 80s, and he's still doing
it. I love it. I think that's really funny.
And you know what? Maybe I'm making too much of this, because in reality, Bob Dylan is one of those artists that you can go one night and it's a set list, and then you could go another night and it's a whole different set list. But because he has 5,000, 10,000 songs, whatever it is, he's got thousands and thousands of songs to choose from. But he's also one of these artists that if you go on a night that he's playing what he could play, you could go every night and then you could know every song. But in this era, I guess he just doesn't have the interest in any recognition or playing any of his so-called, hits or whatever, or recognizable songs. Yeah.
I think it's just, in my opinion, from the outside looking in, I feel like that's just how he is. Like you said, he's got Timothy Chalamet. He's like, oh, well, I already played all my hits. That was in the movie, so everyone saw that. So I'm just going to play whatever. I'm just going to play what I want to play, like deep cuts that people haven't even heard, even my diehard fans.
Exactly. It's crazy. And I think that even underlines that point, because I got the soundtrack to A Complete Unknown a few weeks ago, on compact disc, by the way. And nice. It's studio recordings of Timothy Chalamet singing Bob Dylan songs. And they're good.
That's pretty good. I'm really glad that he went so into it. Yes. Like the fact that he did the movie, and like you said, He looks just like him. He sounds like him, but also going out of
Yeah.
his way to do studio recordings for the sound. Like, that's pretty neat.
Yeah, no, it is pretty cool. It is, and I guess
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody about it today. I'm like, even when he was singing, they had a clip of when he recorded his first album, and Dylan had a different accent. Like, he nails that accent, and I
Wow.
would love to see. And I think Timothy, we can get him to do this project, like a heroin addicted Dylan, like mid 70s to mid 80s, and just to see how he does with that. Like, I would
Yeah.
love to see that because I think he would be spot on again.
That would be neat. That would be.
Yeah.
So I really do have to see that movie.
Oh, ice!
I know. One of these days.
It's on. It's got to be on streaming now. I think it comes. Don't they come out like a week after they're in the theater now?
Yeah,
Or
they
these
do.
movies operate?
They're probably the same day. Who even knows? you probably pay like $30 to watch it on like Prime or something.
Right.
Yeah.
So yes, that's our Bob Dylan update for the week, and we'll keep tracking this. I'm going to keep looking
Yeah.
at these set lists and seeing maybe he'll change when he hits the summer. You know, people are happier in summer. It's outdoor venues.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah, it might be a
So-
little. Yeah, it might not even matter. You know, they might just be happy to see Bob Dylan. I don't know.
correct. I mean, I remember the first time I saw him, the set list was terrible, and I was like, "Wow, this is awesome, dude. This is fantastic." And it was like really shitty when I look back on what the songs we played. You know.
Oh,
So-
we'll see. It'd be funny if there was like someone writing articles about like someone who's there. Like, we get like feedback on it and go through it in one of our episodes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Real quick, and this just came
Yes,
into
sir.
my head. It was just another idea for an episode.
Mhm.
This is completely off topic, and I apologize, but have you ever heard of this? I think I sent you a reel of this. Have you ever heard of Land Law? Those two goons that are like
I've
country
seen
stars,
them,
but
yeah.
they're really
Yeah,
bad.
I've
but
seen
like,
them, yeah.
but like they're gaining
Yeah.
so much popularity, like it's crazy. I think they
Really?
were even on. They were on some like news show. It might have been local or something, but they like performed in some like morning show or something like that. But they're pretty
Really?
bad, and they have 3 songs and that's it. But they're one of those. Yeah, you ever see those music artists that are like they're amateur, but they push their music on Instagram? Maybe the part of the algorithm hasn't caught yet. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I've seen that. Yeah, I've caught
Okay.
that algorithm on occasion. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. Well, they just came up, I think it was yesterday, and it just reminded me. And I'm like, these guys are gaining popularity, and people are probably searching for them. I think it'd be funny if we did, just one of these days, just do an episode on them and listen to their songs and review. Because
That'd be a good idea.
It's
Yeah.
kind of funny because it's you can really go into the lyrics too, because it's probably the most generic country lyric. Like if you put it like in an AI and said like make a Luke Bryan song or something, but like even like really bad,
Like
it's
worse,
probably
yeah.
it probably would it would come out to. It's a lot of take a girl on a fishing day, wake up early, to go to work at 4. It's like it's all that. That's all it is.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah, but I don't know, just an idea.
that's awesome. I do like that because you're right. It's definitely AI for sure.
I mean, that's what it feels like. It's so generic. It's just generic. It's almost a parody. I don't even know if they're joking or not, but I don't know. They're just gaining popularity because of how goofy they are. But
And I guess
I don't know.
guess it's working and people are listening to it, which is the crazy part, right?
Yeah. Hey, we're talking about making an episode about it. So yeah, I don't know.
Wow, friends of the show.
Yeah,
We'd
but-
love to have you on.
they probably would come on. I mean, I don't know, they might be too big for us now. I don't know.
There's been a few people that we thought for sure would come on the show and these guys obviously they want exposure. But you said about Kanye West. You're like, Kanye West is so crazy he might actually come on this
Yeah.
show. Talk about his new album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He might. I still hold to that. He might actually do that, but we don't know.
Seriously.
Yeah. Well,
Too funny.
that's the Arctic Monkeys, the car. So
Yep, that's the car. It all
Yeah.
comes back to the car.
it all comes back to the car. Well, we're sorry, guys. We I mean, at least for me, I know you weren't as harsh on it, but it was still
I
good.
see
But
it.
I'm curious to see what they're going to come out with next. That's what I'm looking forward to. So
We'll see. Maybe we'll probably get a new Grand Theft Auto 6 before we get a new
Yeah.
Arctic Monkey album. The way things are going.
That's true. But we could only hope. And we hope
Yep.
that you guys enjoyed. We hope you comment. We hope you subscribe. And guys, we'll see you in the next one.
Peace.